In this lesson, we'll prepare our model to be rendered, and we'll start to apply some materials to our car. So here we've got the modeling basically done, but you can see that a lot of the things that we've built are basically built on one side, and we need to copy those over to the other side. So I've gone ahead and duplicated the tire and pulled it up to the front here, but let's say that we want to now copy those over to the other side. You can see I've already done the back one. So I'm just going to select this front tire. And you can see right now the center is basically the tire center, which is what we want. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control G to group that. That's going to create a new group with the center at the origin. Now what I can do is hit Control D to duplicate, scale this in the X -1, and then I'll pop it over to the other side. Now be aware when you freeze your transforms, your normals will most likely reverse. So I can go in here and revert those normals. Alright. And we can do the same thing for the wings, for instance. You can see we've got there, and then we've got them in a group. So we can go ahead and duplicate that group, scale those, freeze the transforms, and now reverse our normals. So anything that you've built on one side, you can see we have the grill right here. Okay. We might want to mirror that over to the other side. So Control D, -1, and then freeze those transforms and reverse the normals. And reverse those. And that will get your geometry over to the other side. We need to do the same thing for the headlights. Go ahead and duplicate those. Freeze those transforms. And then you can reverse the normals. You can see if there's anything that you missed. Go ahead and grab those. Let's hide this. Basically anything that's black. Now if you have two-sided lighting turned on, you won't be able to see this. So that's one of the reasons I like to keep it off, just so that when you get some reverse normals, you'll get immediate feedback that that's what's happening. And so I'll go ahead and select all of these and reverse those normals. Okay, and then you can go in your outliner. You can see I've got some of this popped into its sort of a hierarchy. But some of these new groups that we're creating need to be renamed, and we've got some of the accessories we haven't dropped in there yet. So it's always good to try to keep things organized as much as possible. So here's the new headlight. You can go in here, turn that on, and it's a good practice to come in and start naming these things. So you could say headlight, this would be right, and cover. Just name them something meaningful rather than polysurface. Okay, so I'd go through and start naming some of these things. I'll just go ahead and drop these into the car group there. Alright, so now we need to, let's say that we've done the same with the taillights, so go ahead and copy that stuff over to the other side. But now let's talk about how we're going to render this. So right now I've just got a smooth preview on. So I've just hit, I've hit 1 there to show the rough polygon. I've just hit 3 to preview that as a smooth mesh. Let's go ahead and render that. Now open the render settings, and I'm rendering with mental ray, just with the production quality preset, and just with the default settings. I've also changed my size to 640 by 480. Got the default light on, so I'll go ahead and close that. And so now you can see that if we do a render here, you can see that that is rendering our low polygon version. So what we need to do is actually smooth this. We can take it from our smooth preview to our smooth mesh by going to Modify, Convert, and saying Smooth Mesh Preview to Polygons. And now, if we render that, you can see that we'll get a nice smooth render. Okay, so you can see how that's nice and smooth. Now what that's done is add a smooth node with particular settings. The divisions are over here. If you want to take that off, you can dial that back down to 0. Okay, but for our purposes, we want to have that cranked up. So we want to take basically these pieces and go ahead and convert those Smooth mesh preview to polygons. Freeze our transforms. We don't need to do it for the canopy. For the wings, we will need to do it. So go ahead and select those wings. Convert those. Okay. The tires will probably go ahead and leave. So now if we render an image of this, you'll have to go through all of your individual pieces that you have a smooth mesh preview on. You can see that this part right here and the grill still needs to be smoothed out. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Go ahead and smooth that out. And these as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a car paint shader to this to get things rolling on the material side. So I'm going to go ahead and get us kind of a split view here. And I will grab the hyper shade. And we want to create a metal ray node. So I'm going to go to create metal ray nodes. And go to materials. And we're going to go down to find something called the MI car paint phenomena. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And that's going to bring in a default red color. I'm going to go ahead and click on our geometry and assign that material. So now let's go ahead and render that up and see what that looks like. This is just the default settings with no reflection or final gather or anything on it. So it's got that red, and you can kind of see the flakes of paint in there. So now if we go and look at these settings, we can kind of shrink this up a little bit. You can open up these settings, and you can see that you've got several different colors that you're able to work with. You've got a base color, an edge color, and a lit color. This base color is basically the underneath color. It kind of makes sense that way. The lit color is going to be right around this highlight. So if we change that, you can see where that's located. And then the edge color is going to be kind of around the sides there. Okay, and then you've also got parameters for specularity, the flake, the reflection, so on and so forth. Our main concern is going to be the changing the color. So let's go ahead and make this kind of a gunmetal gray with maybe a little bit of green in it. So for the base color, I'm going to choose a green, but I'm going to go really dark, okay, and desaturated. All right. For the lit color, I'll choose something a little bit lighter, but still desaturated. We want to go fairly gray with this. So I'm going to desaturate the base color a little bit more. So now, if we want to render just a region of this, we could do a whole render, or we could do a region. If we turn on Auto Render Region, then when we draw a region across here, it will automatically re-render that area. So you can see that's a little bit too green for what we want. So let's go ahead and take some of that green out. Just lower that base color down. Take that saturation out. Okay, maybe add a little bit of gray back into it. And then take some of this green out with that. We can do another render region. See what that looks like. So that's getting there. We might want to desaturate even a little bit more so that we just get a little hint of that green in there. And let's go ahead and darken up our base color. Let's do a new render and see how that's looking. This middle ray phenomena is a great shader for doing shiny surfaces like this, like car surfaces and things of that nature. Alright, so once you've got that, you can go ahead and call this maybe your car paint main. And we can apply this to different pieces. So let's say we want the fins to be a part of this. Go ahead and assign that material there. You can assign it here. We can also assign it just to specific faces. So for instance, if we have the ends of this and we just want the ends to be this car paint shader, we can just select those. And leave off anything down here, which will make some other shader, possibly like a chrome. And we can apply it directly to those particular faces. Okay. Let's now make a variation of this car paint for kind of like an accent color. So let's take this, this material. We'll go ahead and say duplicate shading network. That's going to make a copy. Now let's change this to a red. So we'll still have it fairly dark, but this time we'll have a red color to it. And go ahead and create kind of a dark red. And let's give it a little bit more of a red, so that this one has a little bit more pop to it than the green. So something sort of like that. Okay, and then we can apply this to particular areas. So let's say we want this portion up here to be red. And we can select those faces. I'm going to just dial down my smooth node there. And let's go ahead and select just those faces that we want to be red. So I'll select the top of this guy. Now if you have the geometry separated already, then it's a simple matter of just selecting that and applying your material. Otherwise, you can do it on a face-by-face basis. And let's go ahead and hit Shift, period, a couple of times. And then we can right-click and say Assign Material. Okay. Anytime I do that, I sometimes will delete the smooth node and redo it. If you do any kind of UVs or even material stuff, sometimes it's better to do that. So I'll go back and convert that once again. And so let's do a quick render with what we've got. Let's also apply that car paint to the wheels. Apply that. And get that in there. And let's do a render to see what we're looking like here. So here's our render coming up with just our basic car paint. Now you can see it looks kind of bland because there's no reflection right now. But once we get our HDR in there, it'll look a lot better. Okay, so let's go in and apply the car paint shader. I'm going to apply it to the wings, to the main body, the edges of these little wings in here. Also, you might want to apply it to the rim of the panel. Okay, I would also take maybe some little accents here. So for this guy, I would take some of these faces right here and make them the red color. So I'll go ahead and just select these faces and make them that red car paint. Just has a nice little accent there. Right? You can also make these, just some of the little areas, different colors. You can make these red, so on and so forth. Alright, so let's go ahead and just finish up working with our adding car paint to our particular areas. You can change the color. If you don't have to do my sort of grayish green color, you can make it any color you want. The easiest way would be to go in and change your base color and your lit color. You can see how we did that to make it a red color. So next, let's go ahead and start to add some chrome shader to some of the bright work on here. So some of the little accent pieces and some of the pieces that we want to be chrome. We'll go in and add that in the next lesson.